Invocation prayer. I am the presence of pure being, emanating the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I am all that God is expressing at the point of meeting. As I express divine wisdom, all thoughts of mortal limitations have no power over me. I am the substance and power of pure love, bringing into manifestation my world according to divine law. Amen. Thank you, God, ahead of time. And as Linda always says, we know it's appreciated, the prayers. And now, Michelle will come read for us the daily word.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
My faith is making me well. Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore's healing journey began when she changed her mind. Inspired by the words of a healing practitioner, she took this affirmation to heart. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. After 2 years of persistent health-affirming meditation, prayer, and practice, Myrtle was healed. Her faith made her well. Myrtle Fillmore lived joyously and vigorously for many years. I take inspiration from this story. I, too, am a living expression of God. I feel my body's quickening response as I claim my inheritance to divine life, vibrantly active in every cell of my body. Good nutrition, exercise, and rest support my healing practice. My faith is making me well. The reading for today from Mark 5:34. He said to her daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.
Our minister for this morning, our dynamic Reverend Anita Koch. Our wonderful keyboardist who found the switch this morning. And we have Bobby George, our musician in the house. All right. And I'm Carol Shuffles, your reader this morning.
Okay, this is one that I wrote about 15, 16 years ago. It's pretty cool. It's called Rain Bubbles. Rain bubbles dancing on the pond. In the moment they'll be gone. Rain bubbles, early morning rain, when the western bubbles away. White daisies circled all around,
and I was, when he was playing, when he was rehearsing a little bit before the service, he was practicing this tune, and one of the lines in there, I don't know if you caught it, is 1 + 1 is 1. And I love that part of the song especially, because it is so perfect for what we talk about here at this church every week, and in unity as a global movement. Because that one is all, and we are all one. 1 + 1 is 1. We are all individualized expressions of the divine. And so let's start today by repeating our statement of being that is in the back of your insert, in the insert somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where it is. Carol's much better at knowing locations.
No, I
Directions aren't my forte. So let's together. God is all,
both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
And that is, I love that statement. I mean, almost daily, I remind myself I am an individualized expression of God. And I hope you're doing that too. Because that's the point. The point is living our lives from that space where we know we are individualized expressions of that one divine presence and power that is all around us and living in and through us. You know, when they say we are God's hands and feet, that's because how else does the message of goodness get out there? I mean, animals have instincts. Humans have choice. And that's the difference. That's why the divine is said to have made us in that image and likeness, because we can think, we can choose. And animals just, birds fly south in the winter and come north in the summer. They don't do it, they don't say, gee, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it this year. So that's the difference between us and anything else in the universe. And still, everything is divine. All of it. We just have that little something extra. And I read the Daily Word every day. And a couple of days ago, it was about peace. And I wanted to share this with you because it says, with an open heart and centered mind, I move from reflexive reaction to compassionate, intentional response. And I have often said, and I taught myself to do this a number of years ago, and it didn't happen overnight. It took years and years and years and years and years of practice. And that is, I taught myself to move away from that reflexive reaction. And we all do that, don't we? We just make snap judgments. Someone pulls in front of us in traffic, and we get all angry, most of us. I have learned to tell myself, boy, I hope everything's okay. Maybe they're on their way to the hospital. Maybe a loved one is very, very ill. blah, blah, blah. So I have trained my mind to look at things differently. And that's where that choice comes in. So the point is, today we're going to be doing we're doing a series, Linda Ridley and I are doing a series entitled A Holistic Approach to Prosperity. And so as I was preparing this morning, and by the way, Reverend Ben is sorry that he can't be here, and he is looking forward to seeing each and every one of you next week. So all is well, just so you know. But as I was preparing for the program that we're going to be doing after church on spiritual prosperity, I thought, well, what a perfect opportunity for me to combine some of the concepts that we're going to be talking about in that spiritual prosperity session with the message for today, and also with the power for the month. Because in Unity, we talk about the 12 powers of humankind. And the month of January is faith, and we talked about a lot about faith, and we talked about Peter, who is the apostle who represents faith. And then this month, the power is strength. And the apostle who represents strength is, and I don't think coincidentally, Andrew, who is Peter's brother. Now, when our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, wrote The 12 Powers of the Man, which is the title of the book, he used each of the disciples to represent a strength or a power that each human has. And by putting faith first, don't you think that's kind of cool? That's our foundation, isn't it? Peter, faith is the rock on which I will build my church, right? That's what Jesus said. So he used the metaphysics and the actual reading of the Bible for those that read it more literally to bring this together so that people could really understand not only in a biblical sense, but in a sense of how we can apply this information to our lives. And that's the big difference between unity teachings and traditional Christian evangelical teachings. When we go out in the world, we're not going out there to convert someone from their existing way of thinking to our way of thinking. We're not looking to save someone. We are looking to be an example of how to live a happier, more prosperous life. Are we not? Look, my water over here, and I need to sip. So, anybody ever, I admit, the dust at my house tends to get a little out of hand sometimes. If you ever noticed, it's like you dust, and then, it's like before I even blink practically, I'm looking, I could draw a picture in it, which I'm not an artist and I don't do that, but I tend to look at dust a lot for a few more days before I do anything about it. But dust accumulates, right? Laundry accumulates. We have these little kind of annoyances, I guess, or whatever, that accumulate over time on a regular basis. And just like that happens, we have minor upsets regularly. I remember when my kids were little, they would from time to time, and I'm sure every parent has experienced this, if not done it themselves, you knock over a glass of milk or a glass of juice or a glass of water or a glass of wine, in Nicole's case. And as much as you hate wasting it, you also have a mess to clean up. And sometimes we don't handle that very well, do we? Or maybe, I'm telling on myself this morning, Mike's the cook in our house, but every once in a while he lets me in the kitchen. And typically when he does, you probably notice from the way I speak too, I tend to go off on these little side adventures. And so I'll be cooking something, and then my wonderful little curious imagination will take me somewhere else, and I walk away, and the next thing you know, something is burning on the stove. And one of the reasons I'm so grateful for my husband is he tolerates me. And he doesn't get angry, but there was a time when I would have just beat up on myself something fierce over little mistakes like that. And so I think a lot of times we think, oh, that's no big deal. Okay, so I get mad when my child spills the milk, or I lose my temper when the house is full of smoke and the smoke detectors are going off and I can't breathe, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? And so we get all bent out of shape. And sometimes we think, well, that's minor, that's not a big deal. But the thing is, the little things mean a lot. Ever heard that? I think there was an old song back in the 30s or something entitled Little Things Mean a Lot. And they really do. Because it's the way we handle those little everyday annoyances that become the way that we handle the big stuff. So we're approaching the Lenten season. 22nd of February is Ash Wednesday. And as we're approaching the Lenten season, it's a good time to start preparing ourselves for what we want to let go. And I'm not talking about chocolate or wine. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. Whatever you choose is fine. However, I think it is the most beneficial for us to choose to let go of some of these habits that don't serve us very well. Would you agree with that? And so, in conjunction with spiritual prosperity, I think that spiritual prosperity probably is the basis of all other forms of prosperity. And so, on the basis of spiritual prosperity, perhaps we ought to let go of beating up on ourselves or other people for that matter. And I don't mean that literally. I do mean that figuratively, mentally and emotionally. Man, I was a Class A first round winner champ of self-degradation. It was bad. It was bad. Took a lot, but it took work. And I did it well. I did it well. I mean, I remember saying that, oh, I would never speak to someone like that in a derogatory way. And that was true. If you met me on the street, or if we became friends at church or wherever, I was very kind. I was very, complimentary, blah, blah, blah. But inside my own head, toward my own self, it was not pretty. And when I really realized that, was that would come out, that side of me that beat up on Anita would come out when a child would spill a glass of milk. A kid I loved a great deal with all my heart. But all of a sudden, I wasn't treating them like someone I loved a great deal with all my heart. Because that's what we do. What we give to ourselves, we can hold that back deliberately from other people. But what we give to ourselves, those less than wonderful things that we give to ourselves, those are the ones that sneak out with the people that we care about the most. Anybody notice that in their own lives? I don't think I'm the only one. So the thing is, like Bobby said in his song, 1 + 1 is 1. And when we realize that we are individualized expressions of that one, and we realize that there's a presence and power that we can call on anytime, like those moments when somebody spills the milk or burns whatever's on the stove. We can stop, take a moment, and step back, take a breath, and ask for guidance. And actually, if we just stop and take a breath, the guidance will be there. We don't even have to ask. It's right there, because do you think that our guidance is going to tell us, oh, go be a jerk? No. Our guidance is going to tell us, it was an accident. It wasn't meant to hurt you. It just, stuff happens. And that the divine presence that lives in, through, and as us is love. Only love. And love is that presence and power that says, it's okay, honey, we'll clean it up. Love is that presence that says, well, I didn't expect fog inside the house. Love is that power and presence that takes those little irritations and just deals with them. And being spiritually strong means remembering that spiritual connection, that oneness, when we're in those less than wonderful circumstances. It's easy to be spiritually strong when life is going good, when you get the new job, when you buy a new outfit, when you get a new car, when life is going great and everything's wonderful. That's easy. It's these little times and big times when we have to remember our oneness. And like I said, when we practice on the small stuff, then when the big stuff happens, we're good to go. And spiritual strength, faith, and its brother Andrew. Strength is Andrew, faith is Peter. Faith and strength really go hand in hand. And what they do is they give us the ability to go deeper within. When we start really leaning into these 12 powers, they build upon one another. That's why we start with faith. We start with faith because that is, like I said earlier, the rock on which we stand. And when we use our faith, it's just like a muscle. When you go to the gym and lift weights, what happens to that muscle? and get stronger. And that's what happens when we use our faith. That's why faith and strength go hand in hand. So we use our faith in the daily experiences of life, and our strength grows. And then as our faith and strength grow, then our wisdom begins to kick in and get a little stronger, which is the power for the next month. So all along, we are learning what we're doing by coming here to Unity, what we're doing by being here, by reading, by praying, by coming to classes. We're learning about ourselves, and we're learning to be stronger, and we're learning to build our faith, and we're learning to be welcoming and open and receptive to whatever happens in our life. You know, as we come into this Lenten season, there is this thing called letting go, but it's also about non-resistance. Because sometimes we're just trying to fight off what's coming at us. And we're spending all of our effort trying to push things away rather than just saying, I've gotten so I'm saying this more frequently, it just is what it is. I love this. Everyone's familiar with the Serenity Prayer, right? So the Serenity Prayer tells us that we should change what we can. Because remember, we have choice. And we should be aware that there are things that we cannot change. And what do we do with the things we cannot change? We allow it. You can't stop it. You can't push it away. You can't make the river run in a different direction. You can't change another person. The only person we can change is ourselves. The only person we are responsible for is ourselves. Now, how we respond affects our interactions with people. And next week, we're going to be talking about emotional and relational prosperity. But that in the holistic thing to do. Sorry. But so we use what we learn and put it into practice. And one of the books that I used in preparing for the prosperity sessions is Edwin Gaines' book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. Now, the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity are pretty cut and dry. And I didn't spend a lot of time on them in the workshop, because this book in and of itself could be a class. And so we're going to be taking a couple of little things out of here, but the thing I'd like to share with you today is how spiritual strength and spiritual prosperity can come together in one little white-haired lady. And this is a story that Edwin Gaines told in her book. And this story is based back in the 80s. And back in the 80s, there was an occurrence that only happens once every 76 years. And that's the appearance of Halley's Comet. And Halley's Comet, it was all over the news. Halley's Comet was coming, and it would be visible to the Earth in 1986. And Edwin Gaines heard about this. Now, we've all heard of Edwin Gaines because we're Unity people, and she teaches she's written this wonderful book about the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity, and many of us have seen her in person, and so on and so forth. But this 1985. She went to little towns all over the country doing speaking and giving workshops. And she was doing okay, but she wasn't a wealthy woman by any stretch of the imagination. And so she heard about Halley's Comet coming, and in the news they explained that the best place to view this comet was the South Pacific. So she thought, boy, I'd love to go and see that comet. Have a, out in the ocean where there's no lights, you really get a great view. Man, that's a lot of money, and I don't have that kind of money. So she prayed. She prayed, and she asked, and she said, Divine Spirit, I really want to go, and you know that the material funds are not there for me right now, so help me out. And she prayed, and then a few days later, she had this great idea. She said, what if I ran a success seminar at sea, and I got several people to come with me, and if I got enough people to come with me, I should get my ticket for free. And so she contacted a cruise line that was going to be in the South Pacific for the viewing of Halley's Comet, and she proposed this to the cruise line. And she says, how many people would have to come with me to get mine for free? They said 18. She said, okay. So she started, when she would go to these small towns around the country, she started promoting this program. It was going to be wonderful. They were flying to Tahiti. They were going to spend a couple days in Tahiti, and then they were going to get on this beautiful French cruise liner and spend 7 nights out on the ocean and see Halley's Comet, and they'd have this wonderful success seminar at the same time. So she started promoting this, and she was in a little Midwestern town, somewhere in the Midwest. She didn't say where she was, but somewhere in the Midwest. And after the seminar was up, she explained about the cruise, and the cost of the cruise was $3,000 back in 1986, and I looked it up. The $3,000 in '86 today would be about $8,625, which is, a fairly good chunk of change in my book. So, after the seminar, this little white-haired lady comes up to her, and she introduces herself. Her name is Mildred, and Mildred said, I love what you said about that cruise. I'm going to go on that cruise with you. And here's my deposit check. Well, Edwene had asked everyone for a $1,000 deposit to hold their spot on the cruise. So she thanked Mildred and took the check and put it in with the other ones she received. And the check was folded in half, so she didn't really look at it. And then she went home and she started, putting the checks, organizing. And she comes to Mildred's check, and it's not for $1,000, it's for $10. And she's like, I guess she didn't understand. She was a little older. And so she called Mildred and she said, Mildred, just so you know, you made a little mistake. The cruise deposit is $1,000. And the check you sent is only $10. And Mildred said, oh, I know, honey. I just don't have $1,000 right now. But I'm going on that cruise. And so Edwene tried to explain to her that she really needed the full deposit and da-da-da-da. And Mildred just kept insisting, yeah, I understand, but I'm going on the cruise and I'll get it to you. It'll all work out. And so Edwene didn't want to burst this lady's bubble, so she just said okay, and over the next several months, she got these small checks, $8, $10 here, $4. All these little checks kept rolling in. And by the time, I gotta find the amount. I don't know if I wrote it down. By the time it was, time to have it paid in full, I think she paid like $97. Built her dad. And so, by this time, the 18 spots filled up. And so, Edwene said, well, I guess I gotta call Mildred back and send her money back, her $97. And so, she called her back and she said she was as kind as she could possibly be. I'm going to quote what she said. She says, I just know that the next time you and I have an opportunity to travel together, it's going to work out perfectly and we're going to have just a wonderful time. And Mildred said, oh no, you keep my deposit. I'm going on that cruise. And Edwene said, but Mildred, the cruise is sold out. There are no more spaces left. Even if you had the money, there's no room. And so Mildred said, yes, dearie, I do understand, and I understand perfectly. The problem we're having is not that I'm not understanding you, is that you're not understanding me. I'm going on that cruise. So Edwene was like, maybe she's a few slices short of a sandwich or something. I don't know. Something's going on here. But she thought, well, you know what? I'm not gonna, this is not going anywhere, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait till we get back from the cruise, and then I'm gonna return her money. So, the cruise is coming up, Edwene's packing her bags, and it's 2 days before they're gonna leave. And she gets a phone call. And the phone call is from from the lady who was the absolute first person to buy a ticket for this cruise. Very wealthy woman. And so she calls up and she says, Edwene, I'm really sorry. She says, I know it's really late notice, and I just have had something come up that I absolutely have to attend to. There's no way for me to get out of it. It's actually a court thing. And she tried to get the judge to reschedule it, everything she could do. And they just weren't having it. She said, and I have to be there. And I've been on enough cruises to know at this point in time, they're not giving me a refund. So do you happen to know anyone? So Edwene says, oh my gosh, do I ever? So Edwene calls up Mildred, and she says, Mildred, you're not going to believe what I'm just about to tell you. And she says, oh, honey, yes, I am. My bags are already packed and sitting by the door. Mark 11, verse 23 says, whoever does not doubt in their heart and trust that what they say will happen can move a mountain. And isn't that what Mildred did? She had no doubt. She had spiritual strength, and with that spiritual strength came prosperity, right? And when we can be still and know without a doubt that all things are working together for our highest good, guess what? They do. So let's remain spiritually strong. Let's allow that one presence and power to divinely support us in every situation. And when we know we are spiritually strong, we also know we can do, have, and be all things. Namaste. So now we're going to take what we've heard into meditation. So just take a couple deep breaths. Relax. Center yourself. And go to that space where 1 + 1 is 1. And you find yourself at one with that most high presence, that power living in, through, and as you. That power and presence that can do all things, that can bring us anything and everything we desire in our life. We know that God is good all the time, yet sometimes in our humanness we forget. Help us in those times of forgetting to make them less frequent, to make them shorter, and eventually to make them almost disappear. Because we know that when we can live with the knowledge that there is only love, that is the only power working in and through our lives, then we know that even the small annoyances or the big ones are there for our growth. They're there to help us become who we truly are. Individualized expressions of that one. And we are so grateful to know this oneness. And it is from this place of oneness that all things are possible. And so we thank you, Holy Spirit, for living through us and for allowing us to call on that presence and power whenever we need to. And we close this meditation by saying the Lord and singing the Lord's Prayer together.
Hallowed be
And now it's time for us to share the love that we have and the funds to keep this wonderful place of worship, this place where we can come together and reaffirm our oneness with the divine. And then take it with us and share it. So take your gift into your hands as we enjoy another tune from the wonderful Bobby George. And let's say our offering blessing together. Divine love adds me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and abundance is my nature.
Sing to all the February people today. So, we've got Betty Fleming, who is still in New Zealand. Yeah, she will be back fairly soon. And hers is the 7th. And then Connie Spector is the 14th, a Valentine's Day girl. Oh, this is sweet. And Reverend Benz is February 26th. Yes. And is there anybody else out there that's February that you know of? All right. Great. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy heard from Reverend Anita. We're going to hear about spiritual prosperity after fellowship this morning in the education room. Last room right down the hall, and they've been very well attended and been so helpful, all the different sessions. We had a wonderful one by Linda Ridley last Sunday on health. It was great, it was great. And today we're doing spiritual prosperity. How cool. And then, what do we have? Image book pages coming, image book binder work. That's going to be February 12th, the very same room. Bring any magazine pictures you want, but there will be magazines there. And we get to make a prosperity image binder, which is going to be so much fun and so helpful for us. Melanie Lee will be helping with that, and she has her hand up. Yes?
We also ask people to bring a scissors, a glue stick,
Excellent. Scissors, glue stick, extra magazines, and any binder. I'm bringing a 3-prong binder, but binder to glue all that in. Yes, it's so much fun, so much fun. If you've ever done it, even if you haven't, you're in for a real treat. Have fun while you're thinking prosperous thoughts. So thank you, Melanie. All right, so then we have, well, before I forget, there's one opening, a new opening for Reiki Healing Touch, February 14th, a Valentine's Day present to yourself. It's at 10 o'clock, one opening that came up, and then the sheet for February evening session, which is 5, ends at 8. So there's like 6 people we can see on Thursdays, the last Thursday in February. The sign-up sheets are by the book order. So Roseanne wanted me to let you know that. And it sounds like music is coming very soon, Friday, February 10th. I don't even know if we don't even have those last 2 tickets left, do we, Nancy?
Yeah, there's a couple left.
2 left.
You can always recycle them, you know, as people.
That's true, that's true. Linda, do we still have those 2 tickets left for Sounds of Music?
Yes, I have 7 tickets left.
7, thank you. Perfect timing that you, see, we've already got a taker here. More than one, all right, excellent. So, yes, it's going to be very fun. All wonderful kinds of music, love songs, polkas. It's so much fun. We dance in the aisles. You're in for a treat if you've never come. Please come. You can bring friends. It's wonderful. $10 in advance today, or $12 at the door. Benefits, the roof panel. Yes, our beautiful white roof. So, did that, did that, did that. There's only one Unity magazine left for January, February on the counter by the books there. We still need kitchen help and snacks appreciated every Sunday. There's a sign up at the book counter for that. And we're almost there. Oh, don't forget Reverend Anita's prayer circle every Wednesday on Zoom, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And you will be sent a link to join that wonderful, helpful, prayerful hour, okay? That sign in is, okay, all right. Yes, we are there, except back in my day, eggs were so cheap and plentiful that we would throw them at houses of our enemies. Go figure. Had to talk about it. All right, thank you. Circle up for the peace song on the outer edge.
See you at the Prosperity